Ghost on the Highway by Dana Lee. Chapter 5. Chris pulled in the drive. Margaret was waiting at the door for him. She'd known him since he was a boy. In fact, he was the one person who, after all the years, still came around. He wiped his boots and gave her a peck on the cheek before entering. "Why, Mrs. Donnelly, you are looking bewitching as ever. What have you done with your hair?" He pulled the cap from his head. His blonde hair was charged and stood on end. Margaret's little hand felt the back of her neck, and she giggled. Diana was standing behind them on the steps. "You were always such an angel." She pulled a Joan of Arc. "Well, whatever," and he winked a brown eye at Margaret. "Peggy Donnelly looks fabulous. You are coming with us." "Yes." They both chimed in unison. "Where's your friend?" "She's going to meet us. Imagine me out with 3 beautiful women. I feel almost scandalous." The cat writhed in and out between his legs. "Hey, where'd you come from? Ouch, son of a bitch scratched me." "Sorry, he's new. Mother, get your coat." "I don't." "No arguing. It's too cold out, and it's only getting colder. If you don't wear a coat, then you can't go. Get the gray one I got for your birthday." "Where are we going?" Margaret grumbled, but felt around in the closet for the coat. She had even dressed herself for the occasion. Out twice in one day. Diana pulled the door closed behind them. "Oh, leave the porch light on." She reopened the door and hit the switch. She locked it. "We're going to Gettysburg. Gladys tells ghost stories on Fridays at the old hotel. She was a theater major in school. Now she works in a bank. Go figure." "Oh no," Diana stalled at the car. "You didn't tell me about this." "Oh good." Margaret clapped her hands together and bounced as Chris put her in the car. "Oh, come on. Don't be rude. She wants to meet you. Lighten up, will you?" He got in the car. She shook her head and joined them. She had been spooked enough for one day. She hadn't bothered to move the knife from beneath the bed. The old hotel was a simple 4-story red brick that had been restored and added to. Like most establishments in town, the bricks were riddled with bullet holes, old war wounds. Confederate sharpshooters had roosted in the garret and fired upon approaching Yankees below. The place was supposedly very haunted. Adjoining the hotel was a little bookstore specializing in the Civil War. There was also an old beamed tavern, and visitors could dine out in the courtyard or in the main dining room that was reminiscent of days past. There were also 2 floors of rooms where travelers could still spend the night if they dared. Nightly ghost walks would often meet in front of the old hotel. The stories were told in the firelit lounge, which once was filled wall to wall with wounded and dying soldiers. All of the old buildings had served as temporary hospitals during the war. This town was a firm supporter of the supernatural like no other except maybe New Orleans. Diana had brought groups of students here for lunch after battlefield tours. Right now, however, she wasn't in the mood for all of this. The place was lovely with its new shutters and glowing lampposts, but it did have a strange, thick atmosphere about it. She'd always felt it. They pulled around and parked behind. Diana smiled and helped Margaret from the car, although she didn't need it, and sprang up ahead. "We can have dinner and a drink, but then we've got to go. We're not sticking around for any stories tonight." "Relax, will you? What's the matter with you lately?" "Things have been strange lately is all, I guess. Sorry. Do you know what I mean?" "No, but here's Gladys. Hi." Gladys was pretty much average looking overall. If it wasn't for her wild jewelry and eyes, you would not give her a second glance. She was warm and friendly, and after introductions they all proceeded to their table. "Chris tells me that you're a history teacher. I think that's fascinating. I always thought about being a teacher. Too much studying." "Well, didn't you have lines to learn?" Chris looked up from his menu. A print of Lee signing the treaty at Appomattox hung behind the bare wooden table. "Yes, but that's different. See, a play, a movie, a story, a human drama becomes very real to me. Do you know what I mean?" They didn't, and they cared even less. The waitress took their order, which took a while because Margaret kept changing her mind. "Mother, please, just order the chicken pot pie. You like pot pie." She noticed the girl's impatience as she shifted from one leg to another. "She'll have the pot pie." The little girl in her calico dress and old-fashioned hairnet hurried off. Things were going well enough. Everyone was happy. After dinner, they moved to the tavern for drinks. "So tell us a ghost story, Glad." "Oh, I've told enough. Come to the lounge and see me sometime." "Are they true?" Chris was surprised by Diana's question. Not that there was anything surprising about it. It was just that she never asked any questions. It seemed that she never cared enough about anything to ask. He often wondered how she could ever be a teacher. He never learned much from her. "Well, I don't know if they're all true, but I think they are. See, I've been reading, listening, gathering these stories all my life, and I don't know if it means much, but I think that I can smell a hoax. See, there are patterns to look for. A lot of stories sound similar, like seeing a loved one at the side of your bed. These ones are true. Ghosts have their habits, too." Chris really could never stand to sit for long, especially listening. "Or," he interjected, "people who have lost a love are in a similar state of mind. I mean, if you wish for something hard enough, well, it's like an obsession, and your mind will eventually give up and give in to your whims and project an image before you, a hallucinatory delusion, a comforting mirage. Whatever you wish to call it, it's still referred to as a ghost all the same, and you are not God, and you do not know all of the answers." Diana looked up. "Scary, isn't it? There are many mysteries in this world after all." To Chris, Diana seemed very different tonight, different from the girl that he always thought he knew. How so? He didn't know, but he didn't like it. "There are no haunted houses, only haunted people," Margaret told them matter-of-factly. She had a drink. She was doing very well. Diana and Chris were both very amused by this proclamation. "Some people are just filters for different sorts of things. You," she shook Chris's arms, "are a filter of numbers, of logic, things that can be measured and evaluated. I, on the other hand, am an actress. Emotion filters through me. Ghosts can feed off of our emotions. That doesn't make me crazy. I don't see a circus crossing the road on my way to work." "No, just the whole damn rebel army." Chris laughed at his joke and ordered another beer. "Trust in your feelings. They are the hands to the heart. That voice whispering in your ear is your soul. It could be a message from God." Margaret was becoming quite active now. "Or it could drive you mad, Mother. Sit still. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout." Diana was thinking that she really ought to get her mother home, but she wanted to talk to Gladys more, maybe alone. She had been afraid of this all along. "I've got to get her home. I'm sorry. I'm not myself lately. It has been nice meeting you, Gladys. Would you both like to stop at the house for dessert? We have to get her home." She was beginning to become bothersome. "Well, Glad, if Diana invites you over, you can't refuse. You might never receive the invitation again. You could ride over with us, and I'll bring you back again." The ride home was quiet. It had grown very black and cold. The trees seemed to reach out to them. Chapter 6. They reached the house and drove up the gravel drive. "You didn't leave the light on," Margaret whined. "I thought I did." They got out of the car, and a swift wind howled and tore through their winter coats. "Hurry up, it's cold," Chris yelled. Margaret laughed, and then Diana realized that the front door was open. The hair rose on the back of her neck. "Wait, somebody's in there." "Christ, here, you girls wait right here in the hall." He turned on the light, and "I'll go check it out." "Who's there?" Diana shivered. She pulled Margaret back close to them. "Stay here." "Somebody's here, I can feel it. This is a very pretty house." "It's freezing in here." "Who'd leave the goddamn door open?" They could hear Chris looking through the house for the intruder upstairs and down. "You should call the police." Diana secretly shuddered at the idea of more commotion, more strangers in her house, and she somehow knew that Chris would not discover anyone. "Oh, it's only Mr. Burns. Don't be ridiculous." Margaret laughed and pulled away from them. "Let's have some tea. I'm getting cold myself." "I can't find anyone. I know that you shut that door. You'd better call the police. They might still be around. Check to see if anything's missing." Okay. Diana checked the house. The floors creaked. Some of the unused rooms smelled dusty. When she got to her room, she noticed that the knife was no longer under the bed. She checked her drawers. Gone. She hadn't made the bed in days. As she straightened it out, she found the damn thing there underneath the blankets. She pocketed it, felt the old rush, and went downstairs. "Nothing's missing. Must have been the wind." "It wasn't the wind," Chris and Glad chimed in unison. "Well then, what else? Where's Mother? Come in the kitchen and sit down." "Did you call the police?" "Yes," she lied. "They're going to keep watch. Now come sit down. It's okay." "I don't know where your mother got off to." "Good. She's okay. Now look at this." She took the knife from her pocket, and she heard it sing. "Well, what do you think?" She put it in Gladys's hand. "It looks old." "That's it?" "What do you mean?" "Let Chris see it." She handed him the knife. "Where did you get it?" "From Mr. Robert." "So, is it something special?" "Oh, I don't know. He didn't seem to think so. It's weird. I think that it's from the Civil War." "Why? Or how could you tell?" "I've got a feeling." Just then Margaret came into the room with a book of poems by W.B. Yeats with her. "Here, Diana, sit down. Mr. Burns thinks that you should hear this." The cold heaven. Suddenly I saw the cold and rook-delighting heaven that seemed as though ice burned and was but more ice, and thereupon imagination and heart were driven, so wild that every casual thought of that and this vanished, and left but memories that should be out of season with the hot blood of youth, or love crossed long ago. And I took all the blame out of all sense and reason, until I cried and trembled and rocked to and fro, riddled with light. Ah, when the ghost begins to quicken, confusion of the deathbed over, is it sent out naked on the roads, as books say, and stricken by the injustice of the skies for punishment? 1914. "That was beautiful," Gladys exclaimed. Diana's mind was reeling. The knife seemed to stab at her brain. She repocketed the murderous thing, snatched the little book away greedily, and read on. Margaret didn't mind and busied herself making tea and putting out some sweet rolls. The Magi. "Now, as at all times, I can see in the mind's eye, in their stiff painted clothes, the pale, unsatisfied ones appear and disappear in the blue depth of the sky, with all their ancient faces like rain-beaten stones, and all their helms of silver hovering side by side, and all of their eyes still fixed, hoping to find once more, being by cavalry's turbulence unsatisfied, the uncontrollable mystery in the bestial floor." 1914. "Yes, he likes that one too." She added sugar to the steaming water in the china cups. Diana loved this book, with the "When You Are Old" poem in it, her favorite. "But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face." She closed her eyes. Chris gazed at her and smiled. She'd missed it. "Who is Mr. Burns?" Chris asked. Margaret's wild eyes smiled above the steaming cup of tea. "He's Diana's love." Chris was shocked, totally taken aback. After all, he'd known her since the 6th grade. He had heard if she was ever in love. She was the one girl who was always above and beyond all of that. "Mother, please." He smiled. "So who is Mr. Burns?" "He's Mother's imaginary friend." "She must want you to get married then." "Like all mothers," Gladys nodded her head. "Mr. Burns's wife died while he was away." "Well, he has a short memory," Chris laughed, shaking his head, as he stirred the tea bag round the china cup. Tinkle-linkle ring. The cup shattered into a million cracking pieces, and the spoon danced across the table. The hot tea ran down into his lap. He jumped up, the chair flying back from under him. "Damn!" The woman rose to help him. The water must be too hot. Diana got a towel. He didn't like that at all, Margaret shook her head. You'd better be going home before it gets bad. It looks like it's starting to snow out there and we have to get up for work in the morning. Did you get burned? I'll live. I don't think that we should leave till we know that nobody is coming back. Where are the police? Aren't they coming? Oh, you know how they take their time. They'll be here. They're probably sitting right outside. He got up and looked out the window. I don't see them anyways. I'd rather stay. But if it gets bad, you'll get snowed in. How about this? Gladys can stay the night. We have everything that she'll need, and I'll bring her to work in the morning. You can take her back to her car after work. No, I have to get home. We had better get going, too. Do you hear that wind? Are you sure? I'd feel better if you stayed. So would I, and if the roads get bad and you can't make it in the morning, don't worry. Remember, I'm the boss, he winked. Well, okay, it will be like a slumber party, and Lord knows that I have nothing to rush home to. My cat Janice will miss me, though. We have a new cat. He just strayed in. I haven't seen him. I hope that he didn't get out. He'll be back, Margaret smiled. You'll see him around. That's not a cat, but a demon. All right, girls, you have my cell phone number. If you should hear anything, call me first. You got it? I've got to get out of these pants. They'll probably freeze to me. I'll see you tomorrow. Are you sure that you don't want me to stay? Get out of here, Diana smiled, glad to see him go. Well, good night, Mrs. Donnelly. Good night, ladies. They saw him to the door. Come back in the kitchen. We'll make some popcorn. So, you've never been married? Oh, no. I'm twice divorced. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be. Do you have any children? Nope. Don't even know if I can have any. Oh. What about you? I think that mother is all the child I'll ever need. Chris told me about her. I'm sorry. So sad. Yes, but not really. Not for her. She's been quite happy in her own delusions. So listen, Glad. I have a confession to make, but first you must promise not to tell Chris or he'll think I've flipped too. Okay. Sure, what's up? Now Gladys should have found it odd that a virtual stranger had such a confession to make to her, but she was used to such things. She figured that she just had one of those faces that inspire people to divulge their innermost thoughts. It had always been that way. She probably should have gone into psychology instead of acting. She did not have the face of an actress. Diana stared off out the window. It sure is coming down. What's the matter? Don't you have anyone to turn to? She reached out and held her small arm. Diana's pale eyes stared into her, and she began telling her the odd events and dreams that had come down upon her over the last couple of days. I'm so afraid that I'm crazy like Mother. She lowered her voice to a hush. Honestly, do you think that I'm crazy? I never much liked that term crazy. Believe me, I've had it used to describe me on more than one occasion. She pulled out a pack of cigarettes from her big purse. Do you mind if I smoke? No. She jumped up from the table. Let me find you an ashtray. I think somewhere. She started rooting around in the kitchen drawers. Gladys fired one up. Here, she revealed the glass thing. Do you have anything to drink? Yes, I have some vodka and Sprite. How's that? I could really use another myself. That would be wonderful. Diana busied herself fixing the drinks with a clink and a ching. I do think that you must be lonely, sad, or afraid, perhaps just a little bewildered, but crazy? Certainly not. Diana rejoined her at the table. I knew that you would understand. It's not a story to reveal to just anybody or even most. Can I have a cigarette? You smoke? She felt around again in her bag. Oh, I used to on occasion in college, but since then, no. Well, it's not a good time to start. Still, she handed her the smoke. Thank you. She pulled away greedily and stared into the soft stream of smoke. This is good. Yes, well, she nodded in agreement and went on. You know, I do believe that you have seen a ghost. Have you ever seen one? Of course, my grandmother, and a soldier in the wheat field in Gettysburg years and years ago. What was it like? Well, with the soldier, it was almost like you said. I was scared of him. His eyes were the fright, and he seemed to suck me dry, you know? Like he bled the energy from me. He seemed very needy. But with Grandma, it was different. I felt comforted by her presence, like always. I guess that it's somehow different every time. After all, ghosts are people too, she laughed. Diana was feeling somewhat better, her secret being revealed to this sensitive sympathizer. But now that she had told it, it seemed to have grown in power, to become all the more real. Still, a stone had been removed from her chest. She shivered. God, it's cold. Let me turn up the heat. Once again she rose. But what does it all mean? Gladys shrugged. Why must it mean anything? Why must we look for answers in this mysterious world of ours? She took another drink. As you say, it's your great mystery, and I suppose that all may be revealed with time. Just watch and wait. Obviously he's wanting to tell you something, or so it seems. That's usually the case. He must be connected to the knife somehow, because he didn't turn up till then. Diana nodded and took a drink. What about the dreams? It seems that the realm of dreams somehow intersects with the dead. That's where we keep in touch with our loved ones. But only through memories, so how can that be in my case? I don't know. Is he the blue man? Is he Jimmy? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Things are not clear and this is so confusing, but it's all that I've been able to think about. Don't think of it that way or you will go crazy. Don't think too much. You will see. You have been given a gift. That rare gift will open some doors for you, change your outlook. Have another drink. It will help you forget. Diana got up, went to the window, and drawing the lace aside, peeped out into the cold night. Of course, when one door is opened, another will close. The world is only revealed in sudden bursts of light, then it is locked away again in the garret of our memories. Don't mourn too much for that which has been lost, or you may miss what's waiting for you right around the corner. She fixed them both another drink. The other thing is that I believe that Mother has been seeing him too. At first I just thought that she was crazy. But after the poetry tonight, well, let's just say that I'm not certain of anything anymore. Hey, do you have a Ouija board? Mother does. Go get it. We'll make this a real slumber party yet. Chapter 7. She checked on Margaret, who was sleeping soundly. Thank God. She grabbed the big old box with the blue phantom on it. This thing had been in the house all of her life. She had tried it before and passed it off as a parlor game. She still believed it so. Gladys was waiting with fresh drinks. God, I'm going to be rocked. How am I going to get you to work in the morning? Don't worry. Oh, good. Here, give me. She took the board from the box as if it was a surprise. You've got the old one. She started wiping it off with her napkin in a figure-8 pattern. This will clear it of any old energies. Diana took a drink and pulled her long black hair back into a ponytail. They each set their fingers on the marker. Do you still have the knife on you? Yes. Good. We are calling the spirit to the board. Spirit, are you with us? The wind wailed outside. The room was cold and drafty despite the alcohol. Diana's fingers tingled and she felt a vibration as if it came from the board. Still the marker did not move and she didn't expect it to. You must concentrate, Di. He's here. Can't you feel it? Jimmy? Jim? James? Mr. Burns, can you hear me? Please. Diana needs to talk to you. The marker began to move, and Diana looked at Gladys skeptically. C-A-R-E. E. Just as suddenly as it began, the marker stopped, and Diana felt a cold, sharp pain peel up through her innards. Yes, Carrie. Don't stop. Is your name Carrie, not Burns? Diana took her hands from the board and clutched her stomach. What's the matter? Are you okay? I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. She drug herself from the room like a lamed cat. I'll wait. If you need me, yell. She came back 10 minutes later and put the knife on the table. She looked very white. A wet lily. Hey, are you sick? I just started my cycle, is all. Oh, do you want to continue? Are you used to these things moving for you? The cat sauntered into the room. Rawr. He was wet from the snow. How did you? He rubbed at the bottom of her legs and looked up at her adoringly. She lifted him up, and he felt good, replacing the emptiness that she'd felt since leaving the knife to sit, watching her from a foot away. Mother must have let you in, Johnny, she whispered into his wet nape. She loved the beast. Can I get another smoke? She began the ritual rummage through the bag again. Not always, but there's a real energy here tonight. It's evil, isn't it? Now, why would you say that? I don't know, but it scares me. Diana, otherworldly does not necessarily mean evil, okay? Just because we can't quite understand something, well, that does not mean that we should fear it. But we are to fear God. Yes, but fear is just one of many byproducts, emotions that come along with worship and admiration. Divine love. She nodded, and they resumed their positions at the board. Carrie, are you here? Gladys asked. The marker whizzed this time to no. You are not with us? J-A-M-E-S. James. That's your name. Yes. Are you Mr. Burns? Yes. So Mother has been communicating all along with him, Diana thought. Who's Carrie? Gladys continued questioning. C-A-R-E-E-N. Karine. Yes. M-Y-W-I-F-E. Oh, what happened, James? Did she die? L-O-N-G-T-I-M-E-A-G-O. Oh, but you still love her, don't you? Yes. But James, you must look for her in heaven now. With this, the board began to tremble and shake as if enraged, and the marker flew to no. Before shooting across the room and smacking off the wall, the cat fled the room. Well, he certainly has a temper, doesn't he? Gladys was not upset as she should be. It's when you mention heaven, see, and when Chris made the comment about his short memory. You may be talking to a 160-year-old entity. How assumptive, how arrogant, how insulting. That's why he's mad. I know. What if Karine was the woman in my first dream? Gladys recovered the marker and lit another cigarette. She handed one to Diana, who was more than grateful for it. She poured herself one last drink. I set towels and pajamas out in the bathroom for you. I'll find you something to wear tomorrow, too. You can't possibly be thinking about going to sleep now. Aren't you curious? I'm so tired. It's just too much, and it's after 1, and you have to get up in the morning. Settle down. Look at it snow out there. I'll call off. Chris won't mind. What a story. I live for this shit. Oh, if you tell it as a story, please don't use my name. Of course not. Now, come on. You call him. Mr. Burns, is it all right if I call you that? The two stared plaintively at the marker, which now moved slowly before settling on the no. The night ticked away. So, you don't talk to Mother? Now the marker said, I-D-O. Oh, the women glanced at each other and nodded in agreement. The marker waited. So the knife, the dreams, you at the foot of my bed. The marker stopped. Diana stalled. It was all you, James Burns? L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. He loves you, Diana, and he can spell. That's odd in the spirit world. Ask him about the dreams. Y-O-U-R-L-D-C-A-R-E-E-N. He thinks that you're his dead wife, Karine. That's awfully creepy. Her fingers now hesitated as if to leave the board. Please wait, Diana whispered urgently. Shh! Her heart pounded for this sense of urgency, this passion and wanderlust, which had been laid seed within her awakened soul, satisfied and quenched a little part unbeknownst to her ever before. Gladys obliged for the table. The table had turned. Who is the little girl in my dreams? Do you know? Is that you? Careen. He's obsessed, confused, crazy. Maybe he's just playing with us. Ghosts, spirits, demons are known to do such. Ask him something sensible like, what year did you die? 1863, Diana answered. Right? I think that he was a Confederate soldier. From what I've seen, what Mother has said, the dreams, the knife. She nodded her head and smiled, for the marker had moved to yes as she spoke. She was secretly emphatic, or so believed. Her heart fluttered, for she was unraveling the great mystery, and a pattern must surely be revealed, and a lovely secret which she could weave her will and life around. The hungry gleam in her eye did not go unnoticed, and Gladys was worried now. James, where are you from? Newbern. New Bern. Have you ever heard of that? Diana asked. No. Do you think that his spelling is good? You're from New Bern? North? North of here? Carolina. Oh, North Carolina. She smiled again. James, how old are you? The board seemed vacant now, and the warm hum fled from her fingers. James, are you here? Listen, we had better get to bed. It's after 2, and I should at least try to make it in tomorrow. I'm so bad. What do you say? Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. But she wasn't, and was apparently distracted. Come on up. I'll show you. They didn't bother cleaning up and put out the lights and went to sleep. Although she took the knife to bed with her, Diana slept too soundly to dream. But when she awoke the next morning to a thumping head and screaming alarm, she felt as if someone had been beside her all along, and her arm was slow to awaken and very numb. Chapter 8. She had, as promised, got Gladys up, fed, dressed, and off to work, although the roads were covered in a deep blanket of snow. We should have just stayed home, Gladys talked chipperly over her coffee as they inched their way down an icy hill. You have a hangover, and my car never would have made it in today anyways. Praise be to front-wheel drive. Diana had never known such get up and go so early in the morning, but then Margaret always slept late, and Diana envied the fact. She didn't want Gladys for the rest of the day. She had needed a confidant last night, which was rare enough for her nature, but now in the blazing whiteness of this new morning she felt blinded, tired, and uncertain. She needed to be alone, and now couldn't wait to drop her. At long last they reached the little bank. Why don't you come in and say hi to Chris? Oh no, my head feels as if it might burst, and I must have slept badly on my arm too, because it feels funny. I'll call you. Take care. Tell him I said hello. She drove the rest of the way home on autopilot because her mind was too busy forming theories and connections between thoughts, dreams, and James Burns. She ran a red light and nearly took out a lamppost going around a bend. None of it mattered. Who was he? Why was he haunting her? As soon as she got in, she jumped online and typed in New Bern, North Carolina as a keyword. Yes, there it is. The town used to be the state capital. It lay along the coast, not far from Cape Hatteras. It was small, but had quite a history, Indian raids and pirates. Blackbeard, believed to be in a pact with the devil with his flaming beard, had ravaged the place until his death in 1714. There had been a Civil War battle there. It was located in that part of the country known as Hurricane Alley due to the frequent storms. It was all coming together, and what she would have attributed to delusional fancy a week ago, she now saw as the gospel truth. Margaret came in the room in a soft, flowered combing what was left of her hair. "Good morning. Did you sleep well? We didn't keep you up, did we?" Oh no, she was singing something softly to herself. "Mother, have you seen Mr. Burns?" "Oh no, not since yesterday, but we're going to play a little trick on you later." "Who's we, Paleface?" She joked. She didn't joke. "You just wait and see. It's a surprise." "Whatever. Mother, what's wrong with him?" "Who?" "Mr. Burns." Margaret's eyes became wide and she clapped her moth-like hands to her head and began to sway back and forth. "Oh dear, he's just not whole. You'll see. You'll know. I'm so sorry. I never knew." She ran upstairs. The knife must have been his, Diana thought. The woman giving birth in her dream. Could that have been Corinne? There was so much. No one could answer her questions, and Margaret, a wannabe actress, and a goddamn Ouija board were her only sources. The man in the dream with the child, could that be James Burns? Was she somehow seeing into his life as he lived it? Or was she truly mad? The connections weren't clear. She faced herself in the mirror for the first time in days, really looked. She looked haggard, like an old schoolmarm, and her hair needed washed. Her eyes were glazed and her skin was blotched. She rubbed at her eyes till they were hurt and red and scratched at her moon face. Then he was there behind her. She stared in amazement, for it was the man of her dreams with the shining buttons. His tie was still tight about his neck. He was very striking, and she felt self-conscious about her scratched and swollen face. She could have felt invaded, but she didn't. She parted her lips as if to speak, and he smiled. Whether it was meant for her or merely a reaction to his own reflection, she couldn't tell. As she turned around to face him, he vanished. But she hadn't frozen up this time. She ran to her room, unboxed the board, and asked James, "Is that your knife?" "Yes." "Did you die by it or something?" "SOMETHING." "Oh, will you come back and see me?" "Yes." The marker was still, and she was miffed. "Mother," she called. Yes, she came in the room looking disheveled. "That's my Ouija." "Yes, I know, Mother. I believe you. I saw Mr. Burns, too, twice now here today, yesterday, and in the bathroom just now. Why is this happening to me? Why, I don't know what to think or do." Suddenly Margaret's clear eyes darkened and squeezed to a squint. Her lips curled into an oddly familiar smile that was not her own. As she began to speak, the voice that issued from her deepest parts came gruffly. It was the voice of a man with a southern drawl, and the down on her arms bristled on end. "You called me back. You're back. Do you have any idea of how long I've searched? Any recollection? I couldn't give up. Never forget my promise. Never really leave without you, my love. If you could only realize your love could make me strong enough. Strong enough. Strong enough to come through. Strong enough to be with you. Be with you forever." Again the small smile lit her face. Then she fell to the floor and a series of violent convulsions followed. The pupils were no longer visible in her eyes, and a stream of drool ran down her chin. Mummy, are you okay?" Margaret lay there for a matter of moments, trembling. James stood there, hovering over her too, a phoenix, only this time he went unnoticed by Diana's insensitive eye. And then she was back, winded, and her hair and face were damp as if she had just returned from being out in a storm. Diana shook her shoulder softly. "Mummy." Margaret cleared her throat and wiped her chin. "Did he do it? Did he pull the trick?" "The trick, damn it, you scared me half to death." "The worries will wear you out, scaredy cat. Shh, don't be afraid." But Diana was very afraid, like she'd been turned upside down and shaken out. Maybe Margaret wasn't crazy. Maybe she never was. Perhaps she was just as gone. "I'd better get you back to the hospital." No. She got up and dusted herself off. "Now you know." "Know what?" "Know nearly everything, or at least what else is waiting out there. Don't always be afraid. It's okay. Really, it's not so bad. But sometimes, just keep care. Mother's love. She kissed her daughter on the head. I'm afraid that your heart is awfully heavy and that your head is often off. Somewhere else. I'm sorry if I caused it so. What about the knife? You know that it's bad. Be rid of it. I'm going to town to look him up, research him. You don't have to. Yes, I do.